Hi, welcome to NDE TV. I'm Peggy Robinson. Today's guest is Lynne, and her near-death experience was at a young age. How old were you, Lynne? Almost 3?
2.5, just really close to 3. Yeah.
Did you always remember this, or did it come suddenly later you remembered it?
Oh, that's a good question. As I've done a couple of regressions and meditations, and then asking more about the event, asking spirit more about the event, then more and more information came through. But it's been gradual. I also didn't realize it was a near-death event, other than nobody else survived except for me. And I was hospitalized for a while. I don't know how long. But in those first days is when that attempt to leave occurred.
What happened?
Our house burned down. The furnace broke, and our house burned down. My dad tried to save my sisters, but he couldn't get to them because they were on the other side of the furnace from where he was. And I was in my parents' bedroom in my crib, so my father carried me out. My mother wasn't home. She was at grandma's house putting something in the freezer, and then having a cup of coffee. And it wasn't until the fire trucks came up the street that my mother and grandmother came out of my grandmother's house and realized something was going on. We lived 2 doors apart, 2 houses apart. So that is kind of in a nutshell what happened.
So your father carried you out, so nobody was hurt?
Everybody that was in the house died, and I was the only survivor.
Your sisters?
My 2 sisters, they were 6 and 8 years old. They were older than me. They died in the house. Nobody could get to them. And then my dad died afterwards, I guess because, he was in the fire, but then he went back in.
To try to get the girls?
Yeah.
How do you survive that? I mean, I know you were little and you had NDE, so.
It's interesting. I think my family really minimized it. Really? We didn't talk about it. That's so normal in dysfunctional families. Don't talk about the big stuff.
I understand.
Yeah, so there was that. So it was like later on, as I grew up, I had to get in touch with, this was big. And I am affected by it. And yet you go on, you make it work. So in college, my first year or 2 of college, I learned about survivor's guilt, and that was really helpful to release a lot of that. Being the only survivor in an event is usually causes survivor's guilt. So, through counseling and also through my spiritual healing work, a lot that's better.
Okay. So you went to someone or like regression therapy and helped you remember this NDE?
Yeah. That was in my 20s. I might have been as much as 20, I don't know. 23, 24, 25, somewhere in there. And I was living in a spiritual commune, and the leader was a minister, and she thought it would be helpful to me to do a regression and to relieve some of the ways that it still affected me. And I tell you, it wasn't a good idea. I don't know that anything beneficial came out of it, except some better understanding, I guess, of the pain and trauma, since my family didn't talk about it. And I didn't remember a lot of things like the burns. I mean, like I have burns on my face, but you can't see them. This arm is burned badly enough that it does show that the keloids, I think they're called, that people can see that, whenever I wear a short sleeve shirt. In fact, when I taught school, every spring, when you start wearing the short sleeve shirts or sleeveless blouses, the students would go like, "Oh my God, what happened to you?" And they would notice my arm and want an explanation. Yeah.
So you always have to relive it. I mean, now that you remember it, when they ask, does that like bring up the memories, or is it?
And it totally depends on what is going on with me at the time. And I often don't even realize it, but sometimes it triggers me and I'll cry. And other times it'll be like, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So it's been a lot of years, I'm in my 60s now, so it's been a long time.
So what do you remember as far as the near-death experience? Or
That
right before
part,
it, like coming up to it, do you remember right before? Or?
I remember being in my crib and that my face felt like it was burning, my throat was burning. That was probably the heat and the smoke, and screaming, just screaming. And so there's that piece. I don't remember being carried out. I don't remember being laying in the lawn. But I do remember being in the hospital, and that no, I don't have much memory of being in the hospital. I have what a few people have told me, and then the near-death experience in the hospital. And what that was being on the brink of life and death and wanting to die. And going, like floating up above your body and going, yay, I'm going. And then being told, no, you're not. And I don't remember any exact words being said to me, just that I knew that the doors were closed and I couldn't go further. And I had to come back into my body, and I didn't want to.
Wow.
I think that's because of the pain. I understand that burns are extremely painful, and I don't remember that. But that's why they say that probably happened.
The smoke too, maybe.
I wonder about the damage to my lungs, but I've never had a doctor say anything about that.
But I mean, as a baby, you remember screaming and the smoke and.
Yeah, my throat burning, my face burning. And so there are scars on my face. There were some on my chest and the front of my legs, and of course this arm. And I just remember holding the crib, standing there and screaming, and how hot it was. And that's it. That is the memory in the event. And then in the hospital later, through meditation and such, recalling that I was like, yay, get me out of here. Let me go. And I wasn't allowed to. Oh, and I also remember my sisters standing by my crib, and I think they were my sisters. What they looked like were blue angels, short blue angels.
Oh.
And for a long time, I knew that I had talked with these people. And then, as an adult, I decided those were probably my sisters. Don't know for sure, but it was a good experience.
Makes sense. Did you have any kind of strange experiences after that you recall or come to remember? Like, was you different? Like you leave your body at any times, or more psychic, those kind of NDE after effects?
I'm told that I leave my body a lot. And I would presume that was when I learned how and had a reason to. I I do make a point of grounding myself and being present, especially when I'm working with clients, because I don't, because I want it to be a worthwhile session for them. As for being more psychic, I don't know what was before I was in the fire, being so young.
Right.
But I know that my psychic abilities have just continued to develop from things that I saw as a child. I remember at 4 years old, seeing someone standing in my kitchen who scared the snot out of me, and it, wasn't somebody I knew. I don't think it was a person. To all kinds of things, from going places and that I'd never been and knowing what it looked like and things like that in advance. And now I use my psychic abilities in my work because I've encouraged them to go ahead and blossom as much as they want to.
What kind of work do you do?
I do energy work, healing work, readings, and I'm a licensed counselor. So I combine those things together for my clients. Seems to work really well for them. And then I teach spiritual programs like the one I have coming up later this month is Imagine More. And it's about how to manifest and create in your life the things you've always dreamed of having, experiencing, or doing.
Do you think this shaped your life? I mean, of course, the traumatic event, that happened to your family, but the NDE itself of leaving your body, and you say you have trouble staying in your body?
I practice staying in my body, yeah. Because it's real natural for me to not. Yeah.
What's that feel like?
I don't notice it. So it's like so
Subtle?
normal to me
Okay.
to be half here, half there. It's changed a little bit since I studied theta healing, and I spend a lot of time in the theta brainwave state. You know how you have delta, alpha, theta, etc. And the theta state is a real connected state with a lot of awareness. And so I choose to be connected and more aware. And in that state, it's a higher consciousness state. And I'd rather be there than be here. And so I think that's very much connected to not really wanting to be in my body. And yeah, go ahead.
What's there look like, feel like? Do you see?
It feels different, and that you're not alone. You feel the energy around you. You can hear if, like if a relative comes, a deceased relative comes and wants to say something to me or give me love. It means that if I go somewhere and they have a ghost in their house, I'm aware of it. And it means that I hear things. I hear people's thoughts, not always. And like I'll be watching TV and I'll think, oh, and he's going to say this. And then they say that. And that's something new. I don't know what exactly that is, but it just keeps developing. And I think that's part of this time period and what everybody is experiencing to some extent. The old linear ways of thinking and teaching are changing because everybody has more awareness than they used to, or than people used to in general.
I have a theory that, who am I to say, but I just feel like being on the other side, I call it the realm of all knowing. And when we've touched it, even for a moment, that when we come back, that sense, was it seventh sense, eighth sense, I don't know, is always with us. So it's like we've got 1 foot outside of ourselves, like an antenna picking up on that other dimension all the time because we touched it once and it seems like it doesn't undo itself from us, like it stays with us. And because I understand what you're saying, like what somebody's going to say, where they're headed, what I mean, I'm not psychic, I don't claim to be psychic, but I know that it's this little extra instinct that I know most people around me don't know. Like I'll leave a room and I'll say, did you see how mad they was? Did you see how sad they was? Did you see, like, what are you talking about? Like, how could you not see that? I was like, the room was full of it, of this, whatever I felt picked up on. And then after I would leave, say, visiting someone, or especially a party where you got a whole bunch of people, and it takes me quite a while to unload everything I picked up, not meaning to, until I walk away from it. Then I realize how much I'm reliving conversations and thinking about people's shift of their eyes, their moods, their, a lot of time I thought it was just from being an abused child. I was like hypersensitive to, because your survival depended on that shift of the eye.
Yes.
But then as I got older and started, understanding stuff about near-death experiences and after effects, and I think it can compound or enhance even, that type of instinct, survivor's instinct. It's a little more than survivor's instinct, because sometimes you don't have any reason to feel threatened. It's just, you're just picking it all up.
Well, there's hypervigilance, which we develop from trauma, but there's also being an empath. And empaths are intuitive and they feel other people's stuff. So, and I know what you mean, being with people, and when some of them are angry, and I've even said to somebody, oh my gosh, you're angry. And they're like, no, I'm not. So like, okay, I'll let that go. To me, that's just like so normal and common that people don't want to be open, and people like us are just open. That's how it is, and I'm okay with it. I like that I see the things that I see and sense things. I would just always request more understanding to go with it, because I've had times that I've seen, heard, or felt things and like, what was that? What is that? Somebody explain this to me.
Yeah. And you can misinterpret too. I've learned to, if you feel something, question something instead of assuming something.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Because not everything's about me. I think, what did I do? What did I do? And it could be not about me,
Right.
but I'm thinking what did I say wrong? Did I do something wrong? And no, it had to do with something else. But until I ask, I don't know.
That's a really good point, that we easily make assumptions it's about us. And so often it's about the other person and what's going on with them.
Yeah. It's so neat that you're in the field that you are, and that you apparently, that's your niche. I was in like investigator, social work, mental health, substance abuse. I used to work at a mental hospital. Okay. I used to work at a women's maximum security prison, and I just take on too much, and I admire people that can do it well and walk away and enjoy your evening. I couldn't. I could not unpack anything until I quit. And I would eventually quit, because that's the only way I could get out of all the stuff I packed on, carrying around everybody's stuff. So
yeah, that's pretty hard on you. It takes a lot of energy. I worked in drug treatment for 5 years and really enjoyed that. It was good work.
I did not enjoy
You
it.
did not enjoy it. Oh,
No, I didn't like those people. I thought they were so selfish and self-absorbed, and you couldn't trust them. And there's a few that really opened up and was honest. And I can work with that, but I cannot work with dishonesty.
It's funny. One of the other counselors said to me, they thought it was so hysterical the day that I said in one of our staffing meetings, but they lie to us. It's like, addicts and alcoholics lie. They have to protect their ability to get their substance and to get numb, and they're not doing anything else right now. So of course they're going to lie.
Yeah.
But it was new. It was news to me. So
Yeah, and you can't work on the stuff you want to work on with them when they're at that level of just that need. Nothing, I can't get through it.
So in my work now, although I let people know that I'm a substance abuse counselor, I do not invite people that are in their first year of being clean to work with me, because it's not the kind of work I do. Now it's higher level, because after a person's been clean and sober for a while, they usually want a more spiritual life. And if they're in a 12-step program, they're encouraged to have a higher power. And those are the kinds of things that I can really help with.
Yeah. The substance abuse seems like manipulating to get their medications sent home.
Yeah.
And the inmates, most of them, were just manipulating. So you will say something nice about them in a parole meeting. And, what are you going to say to the parole board? And so everything was an act, a manipulation for that. And, and I worked child protection. Well, of course, people aren't going to trust you because you could take their kids. And that was actually my niche, was investigations and working with families. It was my niche.
I think the fact that the clients lie or say what they think is going to get them what they want, it just tells me where they're at, and it didn't really bother me. It's like some people are here, some people are here, some people are here. That's just how it is. And those that are ready, I can work with. And if you're not ready, well, I'll try to say something that might open a door, open a window. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. Or if it does 2 years later, okay. But that's all you can do.
In the mental hospital, I just felt this flat darkness.
I bet.
I don't know, because everybody's medicated, but it was just like a
no,
flat
I think that there are a lot of entities that are attracted to the mentally ill, to those who are not strong and clear in who they are, in their own will. And I think dark forces do come in. They, when people are highly medicated, also their will isn't intact. People who drink a lot and use a lot of substances have a lot of holes in their aura. So other entities can penetrate that and affect them. It reminds me that working with developmentally delayed adults at summer camp, and one of the counselors came to me and said, I think this woman is possessed or something. She is so wacky. And it wasn't like just her IQ was low. There was something else going on. And I spent the whole night sitting on her bunk and holding her and telling her it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, and trying to bring in more light. This is before I knew how to really make those kinds of things go away, but bring in more light so that she could rest, so that she would be at peace. Today, I would do it differently. But at age, 23 or whatever I was, spent the whole night doing it. Yeah.
When I did therapeutic foster care, I did it for 16 years. We had 60 kids in and out, and it was cake for me. It was simply easy as pie. Those kids, I didn't feel that dark like I did with adults. I didn't feel that. Well, yeah, sure, they manipulated a little but I mean, sure. It was just a whole different, until the adopted kids. We adopted 9 later and stopped foster care. Then that's a whole different 5 chapters in my book that I want to get into, teenage years and 10 girls at home. Yeah, that had been crazy. but yeah, but before that though, I mean, all those years, it was just everybody was in these foster group meetings talk about how much trouble they have with their kids. And they said, you're giving Peggy all the good ones because Peggy didn't have any problems.
Well, but I found with the counselors that I worked with in the school system that if someone was really good with kids and I saw the kid as having a really hard time, I would refer him to that counselor. And sometimes the counselors would complain, like, how come Tony gets all the, all the referrals and we don't? Well, I'm going to put my kids where it's going to help them. I'm not going to send a student to someone who's ineffective or only wants to talk about their grades, but not about why they're fighting school. So, yeah.
It's an interesting field after you've had a near-death experience and you've been in the other realm. You get that little added instinct, and then it comes in handy. I mean, for so long, I thought it was a handicap, being so sensitive to everybody else. But then I just started learning to use it for, like you're doing, like just trying to help people. And if you can help, you help. If you don't, you don't. And not beat yourself up over the ones you can't.
Well, I think the other thing you're describing is being highly sensitive. Highly sensitive people notice things that other people don't notice. And they also have a really hard time tolerating low vibrational, intense stuff. So for my sister, it was, we were all watching a Transformer movie, and her son-in-law had a big screen and big speakers, and it was intense. But I just adjusted myself and said, okay, I'm going to enjoy this. And my sister was like, I can hardly stand being in the room. Can you turn it down? This is too much for me. So highly sensitive people really do have to be aware of their surroundings and adjust or remove themselves because it's too intense. Highly sensitive people are often empaths, but not always. And I would rather be an empath and be sensitive than not, because I love that awareness of when I can see someone's guide standing behind them, or I can see someone's aura. That it's like an extra world is open, and I love it.
That's interesting. So I don't have that gift. Like I mean, I have seen things and I've experienced things, but not like I don't see auras. I don't see like that. Sometimes, a few times I could count on probably one hand, but a spirit has popped up out of nowhere. And whoa. But yeah, it's not a regular thing for me. I think I'm glad because it's overwhelming for me.
Well, it's startling. Like you think you're alone. And I don't think we're ever really alone, because we have guides and ancestors and angels and such, but you think you're alone. And then when you realize there's another energy there and you're really noticing it, then yeah, it's a surprise. I especially don't like it in the middle of the night when I'm trying to sleep, and I'll see a face pop up in I'll make myself wake up and figure out what it is and where they need to be, because they need to not be in my sleep. Yeah.
Like, where did you come from?
Yeah, what are you doing here? And what vibrational level are they? Are they someone I want around and want to hear a message from, or do I really want to send them away? There's a training that I went through called Theta Healing, and it's awesome in that it's just a 3-day training, and it opens you psychically or intuitively, and it explains a lot of these kinds of things, and it gives you tools on how to, when an entity shows up in your room, how to talk to them or not, and how to help them move out so that they're not, because usually they don't You know, if it's an angel that came to talk to you, that's one thing. But if it's, you know, Uncle Freddie that is deceased, you probably don't want him around. His vibrations are probably not that high. And so their way is gentle and kind ways to get them to the light. So that, if anyone's interested in theta healing, that is the thing. I think that changed everything for me. As an adult, I think I got trained in 2013, so that I have a lot more information on what's going on than I used to have. And I can do more with it. I can help people. So like I said, that's what I combine with my counseling skills. And it gives you access to divine guidance. You know, I don't necessarily want to know what I think is best. I want to know what source wants me to do, and to bring that in if I can.
I have said that I know when it's not just me talking and something else coming in, when I catch myself arguing with it. No, I don't want to. That's when I know it's something I don't want to. You know, like there's an accident down the road, you go, I don't want to. Like, you need to take your friend and go see her dad because he's gonna die. I don't want to. I'm painting, I'm sweating. And I catch myself arguing. And I'm like, stop right here. Pay attention, because this isn't my head saying do this, because I would it come out of nowhere, something I wouldn't know about. And so I've told my husband, I said, when I start, and that's how I know. It's got my little checklist there. If I'm sitting here arguing, but I don't want to do that. Well, go ahead. And a couple times I went ahead and followed. My husband started to listen to me, and then like nothing happened. Like I felt we need to go see someone in his family. Felt something really strong. He said, well, we better go, because things always and we went, and I was like, I don't know what that was for. We left. I was like, I don't know what that was for. I have no idea why we were there. You know, nothing happened. Nobody needed me. So I don't know.
Oh, but I would always follow those. I think it's awesome that you get those and that you try to follow them, because maybe we don't know necessarily what it did, but there's really something about being in the right place at right time.
Yeah. Well, I've not listened in the past a few times, and I regretted it. That's
what usually happens. Yeah.
And so I'd rather go and then nothing. Okay, I don't know why I was here. I guess that was a dud. But I just don't ever want to. I have got guilt for not following before, and something horrible happened, and I knew it. I knew it. Talked myself out of it, and I didn't go, and then I have horrible guilt. I should have went. And I'll pray to God. I'm so sorry I didn't listen. I'm so sorry I didn't go. You know, and so I'm like, I forget that from now on. I don't care. We're going.
But it also sounds like those times that you go and nothing happens, that your presence is a factor in why nothing happens. There's something about your energy that prevents whatever it was from coming through.
I have thought that.
Yeah. So you asked some questions about the near-death experience. I didn't know that's what it was, and I didn't know that it was significant until I had done, even years past the regressions. It was more in meditation and healing work, and realizing how hard I was trying to get out of here, and that I had such a strong desire to, and that it wasn't meant to be. Because I wondered, why did I so badly want to get out of here? But it was just because I was suffering, you know, and I was meant to have a lot of karma in the early part of my life. The first 25 years, a lot of stuff happened. Besides what, you know, besides the fire and those deaths, other really major things happened up until I was 25, and then it just stopped. And life became really normal and pretty great after that. I think that I was meant to have a long life. And there was that near-death experience is probably one of the things that created part of who I am. Just like I think some of the experiences I've been through created a lot of compassion. So I really care about other people, and I feel their grief, I feel their pain. And I think I manage it well enough that I can be helpful to them. There was a time that I probably didn't handle it near as well when I was younger, but now I'm used to, oh, they're crying and this is really sad. And I'm not going to cry with them because I'm working to help them. You know, it doesn't help. In fact, if you cry, then what happens is they want to stop and take care of you. And that's not the role, you know, I'm in. So yeah, you just take care of your own emotions later. You know, if it triggered you hearing the person's story or their pain, then later on you do your journaling, or you go to a healer yourself or a counselor if you need to. If you're going to do that kind of work, you got to be able to let it go or set it on the shelf and come back to it later. Take care of yourself.
Yeah, I did carry it around, but I'm not the type person where somebody come take care of me. Mm-mm. No. Like if I'm like upset and crying, my husband will come to hug me. No, back up, that I take care of everybody. I don't know how to receive it.
Oh, that's so interesting. That's more often than not how this works, that women are givers, used to taking care of everybody because they have the children in the family, and that's what we do. I do think, though, it's really healthy to be able to ask to have your needs met and to not do it passive aggressively, but to do it up front. Like I'd like Sunday afternoon to be all about me. You know, I've done for you guys all week. So Sunday afternoon, this is what I want to do. Besides that, nah, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, somebody told me here when my mother-in-law was passing that she says, you and I are caretakers. We're the type that takes care of people. There's some people that are just not caretakers. They just don't know what to do for anybody, nor do they care to know what to do.
So there's a pyramid that in psychology of being the persecutor, the victim, or the savior. And people like us tend to be the savior. But if you're in that dynamic, it really easily switches and you can be the victim or the perpetrator. And so I try to be aware that I want to be really clear all the time and do my own work on my own stuff so it doesn't come up and run my life, because I don't want to be the victim. I don't want to be the perpetrator. And, you know, being a savior actually just sets you up for trouble. Most saviors are, you know, killed for their job or, you know, gets thrown down the volcano. So I don't want to play any of those roles.
Yeah.
No.
When I was entering college, they did these psychological tests and it come back that 1% of the population has a personality like mine. It's INFP. It says compared to Joan of Arc. Yeah, I'll probably get burnt at the stake too.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I'm in the really small categories there too. And, you know, it's okay because we're really unique. And it's awesome because we're of service to others. And, you know, I presume you have a good life because you're being visible and available. And you have beautiful, shiny blonde hair.
Oh, that comes from a box. It's naturally, see how dark it is naturally in my roots.
Yeah. Yeah. Good thing we have this stuff in those boxes. So being a caretaker, it just means that you also want to have boundaries. So you're not taken advantage of or exhausted because you're always giving, 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 doing for others. It just needs some balance is all.
I mean, it's just what I do. It's
I
what
was
I do.
working
I'm
with-
good at it, so I do it. Somebody's got to do it.
I was working with a client this morning and she was so tired. And yet, telling me all the things she's doing and she's going to do and what's coming up. And it's awesome because she's a beautiful force in the world. But either she needs to get 8.5 hours every night or take naps, because I could feel her exhaustion. But then the more we talked, the more she started yawning and, letting it show. Mhm.
Yeah, I used to work full time, go to school full time, had a house full of kids, my kids, his kids, and the county's kids, and everything. And I just done it all. I was like a superwoman on steroids. And
Yeah.
I had 4 hours sleep every night. I thought, I was good because I get up early, clean the house, get everything done before everybody gets up. So they never seen a dirty house, never seen laundry not done. I loved it. I had a lot of energy. I had a lot of spunk. Now, who cares? This here, actually, my husband, he started a farm recently, and I started this podcast, and we're just doing our own thing. Now we're both 60 years old now. And so we get to just sit back and enjoy what we like doing. So this is a really good time in my life.
Wow, that's so cool. When I taught school, I really appreciated, because I taught special education. So my students either had emotional problems or learning problems, or a few of them had low IQs, but mostly it was emotional and behavioral and learning disabilities. And I loved it when I came home. Usually there was an hour before my husband came home from work and the house was quiet. I wouldn't turn on TV or music. I would just enjoy the quiet and, kind of like you said, unwrap and unpack this stuff that I was getting from the kids all day. I'm going to put myself back together, and then I could do dinner and do the evening with my husband. So I valued
That's the
that
only way I can put myself back together too, is alone time.
Yes.
Is alone. I have to go back just like that. And I can't, when everybody's out here, I'm out here. All the feelers are out. And I have to, I've even at jobs, I would go in the bathroom just to be alone, to recenter, get back in here. Because it would just be out there and everybody's problems and taking care of this and that. And
I think you feel everybody's stuff. Yeah.
so yeah, this is my empty nest time. And then COVID was actually, it's quiet. So
Yeah, I got too quiet for me. I had too much private time. I'm so glad that we have Zoom, and most of my friends and family have it, so that we can still connect, because it's been, I would say, I actually got lonely at times. I'm a people person.
yeah. And on my videos, people comment all the time, tell me to shut up and stop talking and stop interrupting people. I mean, this is my only social interaction. And then my husband talking about the goats or the cows or the pigs. So
He's got people to talk to.
but it's been so nice having you on. Do you want to talk about your books? And
Oh, sure. One of them is right back here. This is A Journey with Matthew. The series is about a young man and his awakening. He realizes that he can have great purpose in the world and that he has gifts that he can develop. And in the second book, it talks about some of the teachers then he goes and works with.
those are your two fiction books.
Those are the two fictions.
And then the rest are nonfiction.
Wait. That's the other way around.
Oh.
No. These are fiction because they're fake. That's right. The other two are The Living Hope is nonfiction, and Unfolding the Mystery of Self is also nonfiction. So there's that. But then also September 22nd, my Imagine More program starts. And it's 1 day a week. We meet 3 times. It is about recognizing what it is that you want to bring into your life that you haven't yet. So let's say it's foster kids. Let's say it's getting a 2-year degree so that you can move into nursing. See if you like it enough to go for a 4-year degree. So it's to identify those things and start the manifesting process to bring them in easily. And then whenever it doesn't happen, like in the second week, in the third week, we'll look at what are the blocks. Why am I not giving myself what I really want? You know, is there a reason? Because there was a time I really wanted to have children and we couldn't. And so, what was the reason? And eventually I found out I wasn't meant to have children in this life. I was meant to teach school for 30 years and be there for all those others and have my private time for me and my spiritual development. So I do the work that I do now, but I didn't know that at first, I had to ask. So what else would I say? So Imagine More is about manifesting and understanding and correcting, because if I want children and I can't have them, what can I manifest? Oh, for me, I manifested hundreds of kids by teaching school. Somebody else might do it by adopting. Somebody else might do it by taking in somebody else's children, because often people who are in addictive or abusive relationships need someone else to help for a while so they get it together. So there are so many options, and that's what we're going to explore, looking also at how we get in our own way and to undo that. And I've got tools for that with theta healing. So there'll be sharing and changing things and then talking about the results. So that's why we meet 3 times, so that we can talk about the results and then go from there. I'm excited about it. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, sounds cool. Is there anything else?
It's good stuff.
You want to?
Anything else? Not yet. My website is LynneCockrum.Murphey.com. There's a hyphen between Cockrum and Murphy. LynneCockrum.Murphey.com. And I was working on that today. So I always try to keep articles, information, videos, things like that up there and fresh. And if a person wants my newsletter, they can also get that. And then there's always a little article, like the article this month is on resilience. And then there'll be some film clips because I'm doing some filming next week. And then that'll go on the website.
Filming on what?
Filming, talking about resilience, doing an 18-minute, and it will be very high quality, the people that I'm working with. And so that'll be available to teach people about how to become more resilient. So when we live through things like COVID, we can kind of like fly through it instead of getting stuck in the mud.
Will those be on YouTube, or how will people see
Yes,
those?
it'll go on to YouTube later, but for now it'll just be on my website
Cool.
after next week.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Okay.
And I will send you a link.
Great.
This is ready.
that's
Right by
great.
morning.
Great. I'll put it on my website too. Thank you for having me.
Thank
All
you
the
for
fun
coming.
things we talked about.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.